please watch the video before commenting, for the love of Lucifer. On June 12th, I basically put up a video called, of course, The Mind of Alastor Explained, where basically I go into depth, obviously, about some information that of speculation that I've diagnosed Alastor with, especially also in episode 3 of Radio Hazbin. There's been some updates since I put out that video. Obviously, Faisal Thunder or Bijan in my server has commented thusly, and he has actually corrected me in some of my information, and I'm happily someone has corrected me this time. They said thusly, the timeline of Mimsy's death wouldn't add up to her being a cohort in crime with Alastor. She may have been earlier on but then died, or maybe have gotten caught, so we won't know that yet. So we safely assume Alastor was active as a serial killer upon his time of death in 1933. I think he would have still carried on. We may never know. That or he witnessed her death, or maybe have pressed it onto her. Again, we don't know the answer. And of course he then goes on obviously about my theory about Alastor being bipolar. And then he then goes into the other part, saying, I rather believe to say that Alastor is a psychopath. Many traits of revised psychopathy checklist PCL-R, which is considered the gold standard for diagnosing psychopathy in an individual, are perfectly reflected in Alastor's behavior in the pilot or in facts or from the streams. For instance, he puts a lot of emphasis on entertainment, and thus has an excessive need for stimulation and entertainment, which is one of the 20 traits on the PCL-R. On the basis of this, it can be claimed that the Alastor's murders were thrill killings, which can be defined as a murderer motivated solely by the sheer entertainment of the act. Moreover, like other psychopaths, his charismatic demeanor appears to be simply a ruse designed to quash suspicion to get an individual to lower their guard. He knows that people are suspicious of him and aims to cloud such suspicions with his charm. An adopted artificial charm he has crafted up for himself, knowing it has an illusionary effect on others, which he tends to fully utilize that in Charlie in the pilot. So obviously, we're going to go into the information about the psychopathy traits, etc. So let's dive right in. So obviously, we're going to be checking a list of everything that Alastor has done in the pilot to a checklist of how to actually see a psychopath. Gibbliness and superficial charm. Check. Grandiose self of self-worth. Check. Need for stimulation and proneness to boredom? Check. Pathological lying. We haven't technically seen that yet, but we may see that in the future. Coning/manipulative. Check, considering he is a dealer, a devil dealer, demon dealer. Lack of remorse or guilt. Check. Shallow affect, i.e. reduced emotional responses. Well, we haven't seen that far yet into the series. Callous or lack of empathy. That is true considering his responses to Charlie in the episodes about obviously saving people to go into heaven. Parasitic lifestyle. We haven't seen that as of yet. Poor behavior controls. Again, haven't seen it yet. Promiscuous sexual behavior. That kind of gets debunked because obviously about his asexuality, and of course, if you guys look in the top right corner, we then go into that. Obviously, that was my first Hazbin hot take. Early behavioral problems. We don't know that yet. Lack of realistic/long-term goals. That could be plausible, but again, we won't know. Impulsivity. That could also be his personality-wise. Irresponsibility. We won't know as of yet. Failure to accept responsibility for one's own actions. We haven't seen that far yet. Many short-term marital relationships. This could explain Mimsy on how she was short-term. Juvenile delinquency. We haven't gone that far yet. Again, obviously that might be in the future when we go into the past. Reconviction of conditional release from prison. I highly doubt he's been caught, and criminal versatility, i.e. commits diverse types of crimes. More likely probably still murder in this case. Now, where does psychopathy actually begin? It actually comes in one of the early characteristics such as, of course, callousness and emotional traits. This is mostly affected in childhood and has to be before the age of 10, and it may have received a formal diagnosis as a conduct disorder. Of course, mental illness was slowly being discovered again because of shell shock / PTSD because of World War I. And of course, many other wars, others such as also the Spanish flu. However, showing psychopath features in childhood does not mean that the person will necessarily become an adult psychopath. How does one become one? Well, basically, sometimes it can be also substantially genetic. Through research suggests that non-genetic factors can be evolved as well. Scientists have observed the sign of atypical function in particular of brain areas, such as the amygdala, in psychopathic traits, but there is much to be learned of what causes such differences, so we actually don't know the actual answer as of yet. Of course, the way I'm just going to give some examples how apparently psychopathy can also be formed in such a way, such as of course some of the recent serial killings have been happening, such as the Crossbow Killer and the Yorkshire Ripper. They were both obviously influenced from the Jack the Ripper, because obviously he was using his charm against obviously some rather promiscuous people to then put an end to their life. Psychopathy is a serious personality disorder characterized by antisocial behavior, untruthfulness, irresponsibility, and a lack of remorse or empathy. It is hypothesized that the psychopath is primarily deficient in fear reactivity, and consistent with this hypothesis is the reliable finding that psychopaths show less fear conditioning as indicated by poor skin constituents, classical conditioning. Leaken, 1957. Another psychophysiological measure of fear and negative effect mentioned earlier involves the acoustic startle blink reflex. Recall that normal subjects have given enhanced blink startle reactions while observing unpleasant pictures. Compared to startle while observing neutral or pleasant pictures, this is not true of psychopaths, or of at least significant subgroups of psychopaths. Patrick et al., 1993. This finding is also consistent with the hypothesized deficit in fear of some types of psychopathy. So now we are finally breaking down Alastor. We are breaking down his mindset. We are now basically going noodles into his brain. I do thank Faisal Thunder for bringing it to my attention, as he is in my Discord. I do thank you for that, and I hope you do see this video when it comes out. And of course there is links in the description below to the sources that I use, being of course ScienceDirect.com and Psychological Today. If you enjoy your stay in this particular video, make sure you subscribe and also hit the notification bell. There are links down below to my Patreon, to my Twitter, where I'm mostly there all the time, and of course there is also my Discord. Thank you very much for listening, and goodbye.
If I wanted to hurt anyone here, I would have done so already.